Right, so hi everybody. This is the recording of a mock exam. So any one of my units will pretty much run under the same conditions, same rules and everything. So the first thing that you need to do, so these are exams that are computer-based tests. So they will take place in an examination center in the university, so on campus. So these exams used to be held remotely at home in the past, during the pandemic in the past couple of years, but now that we are back, you actually need to physically be at the university and you need to go to the examination center. In order to go to the examination center, you need to know where the examination center is. So in your exam timetable, now that it's out, you should be able to see the room of the exam. So if it's something like LG014, it means that you're in Lion Gate, Lab 014, which is the big one, and it will probably have A and B. I mean, remembering from my timetable for my exams this year, I will have about 70 odd students in there for each module. Your exams will likely be spread across multiple rooms. Okay, so you will need to make sure that you are in the correct room. All right, so whatever room you've been allocated to. If you require extra time for your exams, then you will definitely be somewhere else. Make sure on your timetable, you look at where you are. Do not ask your friends, where is the exam? They tell you, you go with them. You will not fit in the exam center because it's an pre-allocated number of computers per lab. And you might also not actually be able to log in to the exam itself if you do that. All right. So make sure, according to your timetable, you go to the correct examination center for your exam. So that's the first basic rule of it. Once you go to the examination center, I would like you to be there at least 20 minutes before the start time. Your exam will most likely be something like 9 o'clock in the morning. I need you to be there at 8:40. This is because the exam needs to start at 9 o'clock. The earlier you sit on your computer, we usually start letting people into the examination center about 15 minutes before the exam starts. The sooner you're settled in, you're logged into your computer, you have your browser ready for the exam, you have read the piece of paper with the examination instructions in front of you, then the more time you will have to relax and concentrate for a couple of minutes before the actual exam starts. If you rush into the lab in the last moment, by the time you leave your jacket, you make your phone silent, you find your computer, you sit, you log in, blah, 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 you will start in a rushed state and it will not be a good idea. Okay, come early, be cool, calm and relaxed, do everything by taking your time, sit on the computer so that you will be in the right state of mind for the exam. Now, once you are inside the examination room, we'll tell you that any jackets or bag will go to the side of the room somewhere. Please make sure you switch off your mobile phones and you leave them with your bags and jackets. They should not be on you. They should not be on your desk. If you don't have a jacket or bag, you can leave your phone with the invigilator on the invigilator's desk. Don't worry, you won't lose it. All right. You can have with you, so this is an open book exam. You can have with you a double-sided piece of paper, A4 side. This means you can have a piece of paper with you and it can have anything you want on it, front and back. If you are very good at this, you can make tiny letters. You can have your entire logbook if you want on it. Okay, it's totally up to you. I would basically, if I was you, I would write down basic commands or something that I usually struggle to remember, or maybe locations of files that I confuse, okay, and things like that. Useful information on the piece of paper that you are likely to forget. You can have that with you on your desk, and you can also have a blank page of A4, and you should really bring a pen with you. You can also bring a calculator with you, although really I can tell you, you won't really need it. And you can take notes or make calculations if you need to. The only type of calculation that you are likely to need, and I can tell you now what it is, you might get a question that requires you to do a binary to decimal IP address or subnet mask conversion. Okay, I might give you 255, 255, 255, 252, and ask you to write down the binary version of this. Or I might give you the binary version and ask you to give me the decimal version of it. Okay, this is the only sort of calculation that you might possibly have to do in the exam. And really, this is the only question that might take some of your time. The questions in the exam will be multiple choice primarily. There will be some multiple response. There will be some filling the gaps. There will be some matching questions and so on. So I do have a mock exam here that I'm sharing with you, and I will show it to you so that you see exactly what it looks like. So once you sit in your desks, you make sure you have your pen with you. Make sure you definitely have your student card with you. You will need form of ID for the lab. Okay, don't forget it. Have your student card with you, pen, your A4 piece of paper. There will be a blank piece of paper provided to you there. You can log into your computer with your normal username and password, UP, whatever, and your password. The instructions sheet in front of you will tell you where to go and find the Safe Exam browser. It's a browser that opens in full screen and you cannot get out of it, so that you cannot actually browse the internet and so on that computer. You log into that, you find the test, you find the exam, and you click start. It's the same as me clicking continue, the last preview here. Once you do that, it will ask you for the test password. You will be given that test password. If I'm in the lab, if I'm in the examination center with you, in my excellent handwriting on the whiteboard, so be careful of that. And you type in the password, then you can then basically start attempt. Once you start the attempt, you'll be greeted with this environment. You'll have the number of questions, you'll have the question itself, and then on the right, you'll have the quiz navigation panel. The quiz navigation panel for you will have 50 questions. So your exam is 50 questions for 60 minutes of time. So you'll have an hour to answer 50 questions. Okay. What I want you all to do is, if you look at the question and you decide that you don't know the answer as soon as you look at it, I want you to go to the next question. If you don't know the answer, go to the next question. As you can see in the quiz navigation panel, the questions are moving. So now the third question is highlighted. Okay, once you go through all of these questions, answer the ones that you immediately know. All right, leave the ones that you need to think about blank. You can then basically go back. You can navigate back to all of the other questions that you haven't answered. Any questions that you will have answered will be a different color. Will be, I think they will be green, whereas the unanswered questions will be either blank or pink. Okay, so you can navigate back to the questions that you haven't answered and answer them. If you do it this way, it's very beneficial because you will go through all 50 questions and one of two things will happen. You will have answered most of the questions or half of the questions in the first 10 minutes of the exam, and then that will put your mind at ease, and then you can concentrate on the rest of the questions in the exam. Or of course, if you haven't studied and you don't know what's happening, you will realize that you know nothing, you are Jon Snow, and then start panicking. I really wish the second doesn't happen. All right, but if it does, at least you know where you're standing, and then you can try to go back to the questions and try to answer as many of them as possible. Okay, so what type of questions will you get? The first one, the one that's here, if it's square boxes, it's multiple response. Okay, so which of the following are capabilities of the advanced user in OpenNebula? Can that user instantiate VMs using their own templates? Probably. Can they manage their VMs using advanced lifecycle features? Yes. Can they upload SSH keys to access the VMs? Who knows, maybe. Okay. And can they check their usage and quotas? So if you want, you can select all of them. I will sometimes have a question that all of the answers are required. In order for you to get the marks from a question that is multiple response, that has square boxes, you need to select all the correct ones. All right, so let's say, for example, that I want to go with this one. Okay, and then I move on to the next page. You see now this is marked gray. So this question has been attempted already, and the answer is saved. I can move on to the next question. The next question has round buttons. This means that it's a multiple choice. So there's only one correct answer to this question. Okay, which system file controls SE Linux? So is it etc. sysconfig network scripts SE Linux? Sysconfig network scripts, network card stuff, not really. Etc. sysconfig SE Linux? Maybe, maybe not. Etc. SE Linux? Etc. SE Linux with capital letters or none? Okay, so you need to figure out which actually of the above is the correct answer. Okay, in our case, I'm going to go with none. All right. Next page, you see this question is now answered as well. So the next question is a ranking question. So rank the 3 Open Nebula views in order of descending privilege. And just to make that clear, because some people may not be native English speakers, highest privilege first. Okay, so you have admin view, VDC admin view, and cloud user view. Which of these users has the most privileges in a cloud? Let's say I think it's admin view first, yeah? And then I have a virtual data center admin view, and then I have a cloud user view. So I would answer it something like that. Okay, so this is a ranking question. Next question would be match the obvious commands to their actions. So this is a matching question, okay? So which command binds an interface to a bridge? So we have add port, add bridge. Bridge there, bridge here. I'm going to go with this one. Creates a bridge in the switch database. Yeah, obviously CTL, show port, add bridge. I'm going to go with this one. Prints a brief overview of the switch database configuration. Show. Prints, show, yes, okay, I'll go with that. Okay, so this is a matching question. Another question on this particular example is, let's say OVS can be installed as an RPM, a YAM, a tarball is already installed, fine, whatever. This is a multiple choice again. This excellent thing, I love it. Drag and drop the pieces of the puzzle to make the Open Nebula architectural overview. All right, this is theory. So we can have the service network, okay, and we can have the Open Nebula front end, and we can have the virtual machine networks that then connect onto the hosts, and we can have the data stores as well. So I'm going to answer this like this, because the virtual machines connect through the virtual machine networks and the service network to the data stores and the front end that everything is configured to run. All right, so you put the pieces of the puzzle back in their place. If you change your mind, you can move them around. It's lovely. All right, click next. A custom what is needed for the Open Nebula RPM. So this is a type the answer kind of question, and I'm going to go with repo on this one. Okay, you might decide to write repository. Both will be correct. All right, very careful here. Spelling mistakes are spelling mistakes. If you write it correct, but you misspell it, it's wrong. Okay, repository or repo is written in one specific way. So make sure you write it correctly. Which one line of text must be added to etc. systemctl conf to enable packet forwarding in CentOS 7? Okay, so this will be a bit more complicated. It will be something like /etc /sysconfig /IPv4 IP forward or whatever it is. Yes, I'm not necessarily giving you the correct answers to the questions in this particular mock exam. Okay, because I am a bad guy and I don't want to give you the right answers. Okay, so you need to write either the command or the path or whatever needs to be there to make sure that it's correct. We then go on to the next one. Which command brings up the GUI to configure printing in CentOS 7? And yes, of course, these mock exam questions are not particular to any particular unit. So they're not only for visualization and cloud computing. They could be questions taken from everywhere in my database. Okay, So let's say, so we need a command in this one. Capital letters are not allowed. Okay, it's a command. So you need to be very specific in what you type. And generally what you type here should be working in a terminal. If you have a terminal in Linux and you write a command wrong in any way, it will not work. And it will certainly not work for the exam as well. So for this one, it would probably be something like system config printers. Yeah, and if I miss the N, it's wrong. Okay, so it will be something along those lines. Next page, again, it's a multiple choice. One can change the one admin password by, I don't know what, changing it in Sandstone, one off file. The password cannot be changed. So some of the answers might be misleading. Okay, so you need to think about this a little bit. On the other hand, some of the answers might be obviously wrong. Okay, my favorite two themes for obviously wrong answers are cars and Star Trek. Yeah, so if you see something in there that brings you in mind any reference to one of the above, then it's probably not a correct answer. All right. And then once you're done, you finish your attempt. That's it. You can get a quick summary of your attempt. You can see everything that that all of the answers are saved, and you can submit all and finish, or you can return to attempt if you're not sure. If you run out of time, the test will submit on its own. So there will be a little clock running, I think it's on the top right corner. The test will submit itself on its own with the answers saved. So if it submits on its own, then you don't need to worry. Everything that you've answered so far will be registered as answered and will be submitted with your exam. Okay. So this is what's going to happen on an exam. Once you're finished with your attempt, I want you to basically sit on your computers quietly, don't talk, don't mess around with your pens, pencils, whatever, okay? And just give everybody else the time to basically finish their exam in quiet. All right, it is an exam that lasts 1 hour. You're not allowed to leave in the first half hour. You're also not allowed to leave in the last half hour. So yes, if you are so awesome that you finish your exam in 5 minutes, you'll have to quietly sit there for 55 minutes and wait for everybody else to finish as well. Okay, so I'll stop the recording now.